the Tunisian-German webinar series on green hydrogen. We value very much the participation of Her Excellency Hanan Tajouri Bissasi, the Ambassador of the Tunisian Republic in Berlin, and His Excellency Peter Brügel, the Ambassador of the Federal Republic of Germany in Tunis, who are going to pronounce a final address. Thank you very much, Excellencies, for accepting our invitation. Also, a very warm welcome to our distinguished speakers, Professor Shihabuddin and Dr. Stefan Kaufmann. Thank you very much again for accepting our invitation. The success of this webinar series wouldn't be possible without the unexpected and great participation of many attendees joining us every Wednesday evening from many countries of this world, and without the eminent experts who accepted to contribute to this high-level program which we set up. We shall not forget the laudable efforts of Professor Kaltschmidt from the Hamburg University of Technology and his young team. Congratulations for the flawless organization of the weekly events of these last 6 months. The cooperation of the German Engineers Association, VDI, and the Tunisian Engineers Order, OIT, has proven to be a successful concept which can contribute to the success of the programs and projects of the bilateral cooperation if we have the needed support. This webinar series is all about raising the awareness, capacity building, and networking between the different stakeholders in both countries. We believe that technology transfer, capacity building, applied research, and innovation are key factors for the success of these great endeavors related to the green hydrogen, and that's why we kept this issue for the closing session. Thank you all for making all of this possible. It was a great experience, a great journey, and we hope to welcome you again since we plan new activities after the summer break. I now would like to hand over the moderation to Professor Kaltschmidt. So please, Martin, the floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Shukri. Thank you very much for this very nice introduction, ladies and gentlemen. It's also a great pleasure for me to welcome you to our tonight's final event about this webinar series about green hydrogen. As Shukri Asla said already, in the last, let's say, 4 to 5 months, we have had, let's say, close to 20 events every Wednesday afternoon, and we had close to 40 different presenters. And in the peak, we had more than let's say 300 to 350 different participants. From that point of view, thank you very much to everybody. And especially I would like to thank the presenters of this last meeting today, of this last webinar today, where we address questions related to education and especially in relation to research. And from that point of view, it's a very great pleasure for me to welcome on one hand side Professor Dr. Shihabuddin. He is the former Tunisian Minister of Higher Education and Scientific Research, and he is a professor at a university in Tunis, in Tunisia. As well as a great pleasure to welcome Dr. Stefan Kaufmann. He is the Innovation Commissioner for Green Hydrogen. He is a member of the German Bundestag, a member of Parliament, and he is very closely attached to the Ministry for Research and Education, or Education and Research in Berlin, in Germany. Both of us will give us an overview and a statement about, let's say, on one hand side, the national hydrogen strategy towards a defossilized society, as well as on the potentials of the Tunisian higher education and scientific research system. Afterwards, we will have a final closing address from his, the ambassador from the Tunisia in Germany, in Berlin, as well as from the ambassador, the German ambassador in Tunis, in Tunisia. With that, I would like to stop my introduction in this place and would like to hand over to Professor Dr. Shihabuddin to give us a view about potentials of the Tunisian higher education and scientific research system. The floor is yours, Professor Bowden, and we are very much interested in your presentation.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for this invitation, and it's a real pleasure for me to share with you this talk this afternoon. So I was invited to give a small photo of what is being done in the research and in the higher education system in Tunisia, and mainly on the subject of hydrogen and on the subject of renewable energies. Let me first introduce our university system. So in Tunisia, we have 13 public universities, something like 230,000 enrolled students in different levels of education. And our university is built on 203 institutes. In Tunisia, the university system is a bit different than the European one, since the institutes are older than the universities, and so the institutes have kind of independence from university. So the university is a structure which makes coordination between different institutes, but the institutes are really independent, and then they can have freedom to develop some programs and develop some research in coordination, of course, with university, but they are having some independence. We have 38 research centers and 10 technoparks. And the research activity is mainly organized in research labs and research units. Research units are small labs. And what is amazing in this is that more than 40% of the students are in science, technology, and medicine and STEM. And in parallel with public universities, we have private universities. They are institutes, something like 74 institutes, and they have something like 33,000 students enrolled this year. So which is about 12% of the students are enrolled in private universities. Now, an idea about the distribution of the laboratories. So mainly laboratories are covering different disciplines, but we have a majority of the labs are covering science, technology, medicine, and you see that the shares of these fields of specialties are much larger than the rest of the disciplines. Now, in terms of staff and tutoring and professors, we have something like 22,000 professors. 15,000 among those are professors and researchers, because the status of professors in Tunisia, all the PhDs are involved in research, and so 15,000 are researchers. And so this gives a rate of tutoring of 10 students by tutor or by professor, and something like 15 students by professor researcher. And so research is highly involved in the teaching system in Tunisia. What is also very amazing is that 55% of the Tunisian researchers are women. And this makes that Tunisia is having the first position in terms of women involvement in scientific research in the higher education system in Africa and even in the Arab world. And this is a kind of proud of Tunisia to have women involved. And what is also very amazing is that women are highly involved in STEM, in science and technology. And the number now, I'm in engineering school in it, 40% of our students are women. We have, of course, technopoles or technoparks. And these technopoles are kind of complex of research centers, some higher education institutes, business incubator centers, and then technology transfer offices, technology research centers, and so on. And so a huge investment has been invested during the last years. Of course, these technopoles are not at the same level of maturity. Some of them are very well advanced, like the IT one, or even the renewable energy one, which is in Borsedria. Some are still in the construction phase. We have many research centers. One of those is a Center of Research on Energy, which is CERTEN, but the research centers cover most of the scientific disciplines. Now, the budget, the higher education budget is something like 5% of the total budget of Tunisia, and it is about 1.4% of the GDP. Truly, a large share of this budget is for higher education and for teaching. Only 7% is for scientific research. But of course, we are having also some other resources for research coming from international cooperation. In Tunisia, of course, the ministry is funding or giving some funds to the laboratories and the research units, which I call the basic metabolism of the labs. But also the ministry has some research programs, which are competitive programs with different forms. So at the moment we have the PRF, which are Programme de Recherche Fédéré, means it's a program which federates many laboratories for competitive programs. We have the VRR, which is Valorization and Commercialization Program. The PIRD, which is a program targeting the companies who are willing to introduce innovation in their company. And of course, these funds are given to a couple of company and research institute or research laboratory. And we have the PNRI, which is the Programme National de Recherche Innovation, which is dedicated for innovation. And recently we have a program dedicated for young researchers and scientists. It's a competitive program. But besides the international program, Tunisian researchers are very active in different international programs, ERANET-MED, PRIMA, and so on. But the most important is that Tunisia has been associated or accepted as associate member of the H2020 program, and we hope that Tunisia can continue with Horizon Europe program as associate member, which is very important for Tunisia and very important for promoting the Tunisian research. We have also many bilateral programs, Tunisia, Germany, Tunisia, France, Tunisia, Spain, and so on. And so the research institutes and labs can apply for grants coming from competitive calls. The PRF program is a very important program which finances the competitive research. And I would like to highlight that the PRF has financed renewable energy programs during something like 10 years. And one of those programs that has been financed was the hydrogen program and the combustion, hydrogen as media for storage and media for energy conversion. These are some of examples of the different programs. I'm not going to tell the names of the different programs which have been funded by the ministry, but it shows that it covers a large spectrum of research activities on renewable energies and on energy conservation and energy savings. Now, a small view on the research activity in Tunisia. So these are the Tunisian publications during the decade 2010-2020. And we see that it covers mainly all the scientific disciplines, but we can see also that engineering, technology, and science are having the largest shares among the Tunisian activities and publications. These publications are developed in the main, are published in the major journals. And the ministry is having a program of incentives for those scientists who develop publications and publish them in the very well-known and renowned journals. Again, if we see the shares of these publications by discipline, we can see that engineering, science, and technology are having the largest shares of publications. Okay, these are the 5 most topics, in which we have the highest number of publications. And this is the evolution of the publications by quartiles, means the quality of publication. So a publication in Q1 means it's a very high level publication. And we see, since the ministry has established this program to give incentives to researchers to develop high quality papers, we see that the shares of the high quality papers are increasing, and this means that the quality of the scientific research which is conducted in Tunisia is good. And this is very important because since 3 years now we have 3 universities which are on the ranking, on the international ranking system. University of Manar is at the the 3rd year, for the 3rd time, it is among the best 100 universities in the world. And I think that the ranking of Tunisian Manar could be better if we make some more efforts in terms of communication, because as I told you, the institutes were created before universities, and so, for example, some of the publications are not given on behalf of university, but on behalf of institute, and this makes that the university is losing some scores in the ranking system. Now, the international cooperation in these publications, we see that, of course, the large shares of publication are Tunisian. By Tunisian people, Tunisian universities not doing any collaboration, but many others are in collaboration with different countries, and we see that the largest shares are with France because of the language and the historic relations. But we have a lot of publication with Saudi Arabia, which means we have a lot of Tunisian staff who is now appointed as professor in Saudi Arabia and the Gulf countries, and so they continue to develop some publication in cooperation with their colleagues in Tunisia. We have, of course, Germany, but we have many European countries, and this is thanks to the bilateral research programs that have been developed and funded by the ministry and by the partner countries. The largest shares of publications are mainly articles in journals, but of course we can see that it covers also all sorts of publication, book chapters, book reviews, and every sorts of publications. Now let me target the publications on energy. First, it's amazing to see this graph which shows the number of publications, and we see that the development of publications in Tunisia started mainly since '95, which is the date at which we have proclaimed the the orientation law to organize the scientific research, and means that organization law can be a real incentive to develop research, and we see that it's an exponential development. And this trend is seen in all disciplines, and so this is the trend on the energy field. Of course, when we put the keyword energy, energy could be involved with many activities. It could be on development of mathematical algorithm, or development of some chemistry or some physics and so on. So we see that we have different activities in different scientific fields related to energy. But the major part is physics and engineering and material science related to energy. These publications are to 70% are in forms of articles and journals and scientific journals, and of course these are classified and well-known journals. These are the funds which have supported these research activity and these publications, and we see that we have large shares given by the Ministry of Higher Education from Tunisia, but also a lot of research which has been conducted thanks to funds given by different partners and different funding authorities. In the field of energy, the publications are mainly Tunisian, but again, as we have seen for the rest of the disciplines, it covers also some activities in cooperation with different countries, and we see also Germany, we can see France, Saudi Arabia again, and different European countries. Now, who is publishing? Mainly, we see the most important University of Sfax, which is ranked this year, University of Tunis al-Manar, which is in the ranking since 3 years. Again, Tunis al-Manar Faculty of Science, so means we have to add both numbers together, and we have University of Carthage, and then we find the Engineering School of Sfax, which is related to University of Sfax, University of Tunis al-Manar, École Nationale d'Ingénieurs de Tunis, which is related to Tunis al-Manar, and of course we have University of Monastir, because Monastir has a dedicated school for energy systems. Now, where does Tunisian publish? So the top 10 journals in which we have publications are these ones. And I was really amazed to find that 53 publications have been done in the International Journal of Hydrogen Energy. Means that there is a large potential and a lot of, these are the publications during the 2 or 3 last years. And I was amazed to find that a lot of laboratories in Tunisia are developing activities on hydrogen. Sometimes we are not, ministry and public authorities are not really aware about these programs. Sometimes they are funding the whole global activity of a lab, but they are not, aware that there are different activities in hydrogens. Of course, we have some programs oriented towards hydrogen, we know them, but means that we have also some other programs in which we are not, informed or on which we are not informed. We have, of course, many journals on solar energy, on renewable energy and applied energy, and this is very important. And we see also that it covers energy economics, but energy technology, but energy policy, and this is also very important. Means that all disciplines are involved in the energy activities, and that there is a real potential on developing research activity on hydrogen. I think this is thanks to first the program PRF, which has been funded by the ministry a few years ago, but also thanks to the bilateral cooperation and thanks to the European programs on which, in which different laboratories and institutes in Tunisia are involved. Now, the impact of these publications and the citations, and we see that some of the articles are having very, very high impact. So citation more than 400, 300 to 400 and so on. And so the number is very, very important of these impacted publications. And this is to conclude that there is a real potential. We have the good students. We have, of course, the good doctoral schools to conduct research and PhD work in Tunisia. The Tunisian laboratories are highly involved in the energy field. They are highly involved in renewable energy. And it's amazing to find that a lot of them are also involved in the hydrogen activity. And of course, they are willing to develop such activity. which is important to say in conclusion that now it's very important to think about a kind of national think tank or a national task force on hydrogen, on which we can join the efforts of the Ministry of Industry and the Ministry of Research, and different also departments which are involved or which are concerned by this issue of hydrogen. And this can be a good start point to have a good and solid activity around hydrogen. So thank you for your kind attention, and I'm open for all sorts of questions that you have. Thank you.
Yeah, Professor Bowden, thank you very, very much for this very interesting presentation, and especially about the outreach of the successful research, what you showed very impressively. There have been some questions popping up, but before I would like to go on a short discussion round, I would first like to introduce the second speaker. This is MdB Dr. Stefan Kaufmann. I understood that he is the Commissioner, Innovation Commissioner for Green Hydrogen in Germany. Hopefully this is spelled in the right word, in the right form, so please correct me if I'm wrong. He's a member of parliament, and he is very closely attached to the Ministry for Research and Education, for Bildung und Forschung, Bundesministerium für Bildung und Forschung, and he will give us a few about the National Hydrogen Strategy, Tunisian-German Green Hydrogen webinar, and he will point out the activities, what's going on there, and afterwards we can have a short discussion round. So, Dr. Kaufmann, the floor is yours, and we are very much interested in your presentation. Please go ahead.
Yes, Professor Carl Schmidt, Mr. Asloui, Professor Bowden, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for this friendly welcome and for organizing this Tunisian-German Green Hydrogen webinar. The previous speakers in this webinar series have already addressed many aspects of the hydrogen economy, and it is my pleasure to round off this series today together with you. Even so, we are currently stuck in a global pandemic. We shouldn't forget the most complex issue and possibly biggest challenge of our time. That is the climate change. The studies show that we are heading for a world that will be 3.2 degrees warmer by the end of the century, meaning we will overshoot our common goal of limiting global warming to well below 2 degrees Celsius. People all over the world are already facing the reality of climate change. In Germany, we have just reached our target of a 40% decrease of greenhouse gas emissions by 2020 compared to 1990. But there is still a lot to do, and climate change is not on pause. We need to realize that a transformation of our economy and our society towards sustainability and climate protection is an opportunity that we must seize. In his address entitled "Climate Change is Moving Faster Than We Are" to the UN General Assembly in 2018, Secretary General Antonio Guterres said, "We must listen to the Earth's best scientists. All countries have great minds plotting the next generation of innovations and technologies. We must use these strengths to master the challenges of climate change." One of the most promising ways to tackle climate change are mitigation efforts, employing decarbonization technologies and techniques that reduce CO2 emissions. Additionally, we need a future-oriented climate protection policy that is based on innovation. Thanks to research and innovation, we have already achieved a lot. In Germany's electricity sector, the share of renewable energies was around 46% in 2020. This means we managed to avoid 227 million tons of CO2 emissions in the last year alone. This is a success that would never have been possible without strong energy research here in Germany. It would not have been possible for wind and solar energy to emerge as the most competitive options for renewable energy worldwide without decades of excellent research. The Federal Research Ministry has been supporting this research right from the start, with forward-looking funding programs such as the 1,000 Roofs program 30 years ago. We paved the way for renewable energies early on. But we need more than a change in our electricity sector. We need a fundamental transformation of all our energy systems to sustainable renewable energy sources. That's where green hydrogen comes into play. The use of green hydrogen is essential in order for renewable energies to play a significant role in all areas of energy supply. Storing renewable energy, transporting it over long distances, and using it in all sectors. These are all possible with green hydrogen. That is why we are resolutely entering the green hydrogen economy. With hydrogen, we can integrate climate protection into areas and sectors that are otherwise difficult to decarbonize or electrify. These difficult areas include many industrial processes, as well as shipping and aviation, and also heat supply. In addition, green hydrogen opens up many economic opportunities for us to make use of. It is expected that the demand for green hydrogen will increase significantly in the medium to long term. In order to leverage the potential of hydrogen technologies, is it now necessary to take the next steps and to achieve a real market ramp-up. To this end, the German National Hydrogen Strategy provides the framework for private sector investment in the economic and sustainable generation, transport, and use of hydrogen. In order to establish the use of hydrogen in all areas, we need A, significantly larger quantities, and B, an efficient transport system. Germany's need for hydrogen will be approximately 100 terawatt hours by 2030. In order to help meet part of this demand, we have set a goal of building up generating capacities for green hydrogen of up to 5 gigawatts by 2030 and an additional 5 gigawatts by 2040. From today's perspective, the large quantities of hydrogen that are likely to be required for Germany's energy transition will not be produced in Germany alone, as renewable generation capacities within Germany are limited, as you know. Germany will remain a major energy importer in the future. That is why we need sustainable supply partnerships with sunny and windy regions in, for example, Australia, Canada, Africa, and South America. This is why we are seeking international partners to join us on the path to the green hydrogen economy, partners with whom we can build efficient and reliable supply partnerships. For this purpose, we are already creating a hydrogen potential atlas for 31 African countries. In this project, we are analyzing the local potential for the production and export of green hydrogen. We are looking at how we can bring together the various expertise available into regional partnerships or an intelligent network of different countries. The Federal Research Ministry is also creating the scientific basis for a partnership with Australia by means of our high supply feasibility study. I am pleased that a demonstration plant for the production and processing of green hydrogen will soon be set up in Tunisia with the help of the Federal Ministry of Economic Cooperation and Development, the BMZ. Tunisia has very favorable conditions for the production of green hydrogen, with its well-trained engineers, around 3,000 hours of sunshine per year, and plenty of space. In addition, the German-Tunisian Energy Partnership is helping both countries to realize our potential for renewable energy and to drive the energy transition forward. However, an important basis for partnerships will be the use of sustainable solutions. Intelligent concepts are needed that consider hydrogen production under the multiple dimensions of sustainability and thus take account of the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Ultimately, sustainable development mechanisms are the approach needed to bring together economic development, and climate change mitigation. In the end, bilateral hydrogen partnerships on an equal footing not only enable us to import sustainable generated energy, they also open the doors to new markets. To achieve our ambitious goals, we have drafted a set of strategic objectives as we believe in a market-driven approach. Making hydrogen a competitive alternative is at the center of our efforts. But the future is not shaped by objectives or targets. Real action is required now. We recognized that early on. We have presented a roadmap under the National Hydrogen Strategy, and now we want to build the future quickly but sustainable. The fundamental key for that is the close interlinking of research, innovation, and implementation. The following are some of the challenges we face. First, we need research to make the production of hydrogen more efficient and to develop transportation solutions and hydrogen-based industrial processes. Secondly, we need an efficient transfer of new research results in order to quickly turn them into market-ready innovations. And third, we need implementation on an industrial scale in order to achieve economies of scale and thereby reduced prices. That is why the Federal Research Ministry takes a broad approach to funding hydrogen research. Our support ranges from funding for fundamental research to demonstration and also pilot projects. In order to achieve widespread use and get the market up and running, the Federal Research Ministry has launched 3 hydrogen flagship projects, which we are using to address the hurdles which currently exist for establishing a successful green hydrogen economy in Germany. The first project is the H2Giga. We are analyzing the possibilities for mass production of hydrogen technologies. The second project is H2Mare. We are investigating the efficient production of green hydrogen using offshore wind power. And the third project is Trans-HDI. We are looking into the options for the transportation of hydrogen. And these 3 flagship projects are driving forward technology development and bringing together cutting-edge research and industry. Around 55% of the partners involved in these projects come from the private sector. In addition to large global concerns, these include also small and medium-sized enterprises, as well as startups. The projects will start this spring. As you can see, the energy transition is about more than just climate protection. It is a great opportunity for the creation of whole new areas of economic development and resulting prosperity. We have been laying the foundations for this opportunity with committed and reliable research funding for decades. And we will continue in this path, on this path. With the National Hydrogen Strategy, the federal government has set the course for making a powerful entry into the green hydrogen economy. This strategy must now be realized with commitment, vision, and above all, innovation. I look forward to continuing this discussion today, and thank you again for your invitation and for this webinar. Thank you very much for your attention.
Yeah, Dr. Kaufmann, thank you very, very much for this very nice and interesting talk and about this very, let's say, interesting outlook about what has been done and what should be done. Let's have a couple of minutes, let's say a round table, let's say between the presenters and maybe also Shokri Asloy, and then we will come to the final goodbye address from His Excellency from Tunisia and from Germany in the respective country. Maybe let me first come very briefly to understanding question or clarifying question from your presentation, Professor Boden. There was on one hand side the question why there is such a drop in the publication early in 2019 or 2020. Is this due to Corona or is this due to other reasons?
Truly no, it is the graphic who is showing something like that, but let me show again this graph. It's on 2022 that the drop is. So
just that you clarify this, because
yes.
there are some points has been
because
popping
these
up.
are
This
data
one, yeah.
coming from the Web of Science, I mean, which is an application and the site which is observing scientific publications around the world. And so the drop is 2023 because, of course, sometimes you submit a paper, but it will be because the journals are fully booked. So they plan to publish the paper on 2022 or 2021. Okay. So 2023, of course, still we do not have a lot of publications planned for 2023, but 2022, 2021. And then probably there is not the same trend in the 2021 and 2020 or 19 also. The trend is not continuing the same way. This is due to two factors, probably the corona, but also a new policy which has been conducted and experimented by the ministry, because as I introduced in the beginning, the ministry was providing funds to the laboratories according to the number of researchers and the number of publications and the number of degrees delivered by the labs, means PhD degrees and master degrees. And this is what I call the basic metabolism for the labs. And since 2018, the ministry has changed the policy, and so it reduces this basic metabolism for the laboratories and enhances the competitive programs. Okay. Of course, it's very good to enhance and promote the competitive programs. But in my opinion, it's better to keep also some good funds for the basic metabolism, because if you are involved in a research program, it does not mean that all the researchers of the lab are involved in this research program. And so sometimes you have some scientists which are missing of equipment or missing of money to develop their experiments because they are not involved in the competitive program, but they are involved in the rest of activities of the lab. And so this has given some inflection in the scientific production since 2018 and 2019.
Okay, thank you very much for that. So maybe if you allow myself to come back a little bit to what you have presented from the research activities in Tunisia, that there is already quite a lot of activities ongoing in hydrogen, and the research activities what Dr. Kaufmann has mentioned from Germany, that he said, okay, the key and the solution to overcome the challenges with climate change is research and development and developing of new technologies. And I mean, in Germany, we would say this is a Hercules Aufgabe. Yeah? It's a task for Hercules, yeah, which is one of this, let's say, persons from the Greek mythology. And so the question is, can we, let's say, exploit synergy effects if we do this more in a, let's say, joint way, that we join the forces, for example, between Tunisia, what I understood has a quite well-developed research and let's say education system, and maybe Germany, who also puts a lot of effort in his research activities. Is this a way to, let's say, help a little bit to speed up the process to face climate change? How would you see this, Dr. Kaufmann? Maybe first you and then Professor Bowden, but maybe you can make a short statement that we still have a little bit the possibility to discuss a little bit.
I think we have good opportunities for working together between Tunisian and German research institutions, or also universities or universities of applied science. I think we should do it on a demonstration project. So not only theoretical, not only fundamental research. We did a lot of that, but now it's really to build up some plans, some demonstration projects, some pilot projects, pilot plans, and working together on these pilot programs then. And let's see, some engineer power from Tunisia together with some German institutions. That could be a way. So I think we have to think in projects and in pilots and doing research then not on the fundamental, but on the applied science. That could be a way also for Tunisia.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Bowden.
Yes, I think it's a real opportunity to have a stronger cooperation between Tunisian and German universities. Of course, we have a bilateral program to support competitive research, joint competitive research between a Tunisian university and German university, but this program is not supporting a lot of projects every year. I mean, the funds which are dedicated to this program are not that large, and so the number of funded projects is small, or it's a reduced number of projects. And I think both, governments have to put some efforts to enhance and promote the bilateral cooperation between Tunisian universities and German universities, and put a bit more funds to promote this collaboration. But I think in this specific field, which is renewable energy and hydrogen, it's really worth to enhance and promote the research and cooperation and the building the demonstration projects in Tunisia and so on. Why? Because of course we have the opportunities, we have the skills, but also we have the weather. And sometimes when I'm visiting some facilities in Germany, I see that, or my colleagues in Germany tell me that this facility has been used for something like 50 days a year because of the weather. The sun is not available the whole year. And in my opinion, we can also promote building demonstrators in Tunisia because we have more sunny days and we have more opportunities to test the innovations done and conducted by German laboratories. And so we have better weather to test, and we have the harsh conditions of Sahara, Tunisian Sahara, with dust and with high solar radiation, high temperature, and so on. And this is a good opportunity also, which is offered to German laboratories, but it's a large and excellent opportunity for Tunisian researchers to benefit from these innovations which are developed by German institutes. And so kind of recommendation, but polite recommendation, is that we have from both sides to enhance and promote the joint collaboration in terms of research between the two countries, because it's a win-win opportunity that can be offered.
For us, the MENA states are interesting because we have the possibility not only for shipping the hydrogen as ammonia, but to bring it in pipelines via the sea, or maybe via Gibraltar. So, you know, we have also projects in Morocco, and I think the situation is nearly the same. We have the possibility to bring the hydrogen in gas pipelines or hydrogen pipelines to the southern part of Europe, and also to the southern part of Germany, for example. You know, I'm living in Stuttgart, and we have a big problem because all the pipeline systems are built up from the north down to the south, from Rotterdam, from the Netherlands, via North Rhine-Westphalia, and the plans are that the hydrogen pipelines will arrive in Baden-Württemberg 2040. But we need hydrogen before. So there's also some thinking, so some plans maybe to bring the hydrogen from the southern part of Europe, and maybe also from the MENA states to the southern part of Germany. So it needs a lot of infrastructure. It costs a lot of money, but we are looking for partnerships. We have to import hydrogen in 2030, 2040. We need really big amounts of green hydrogen. And that could be the first step for a partnership and also for some research collaborations.
Yeah, and I think this is a good opportunity. I mean, hydrogen is a real opportunity because now we have a built pipeline which is transporting natural gas, but transporting, CH4, CH4 can be transported in the gas pipelines, I mean. And so we can see the opportunity of this existing pipeline, and then later on we can develop some more infrastructure to transport different medias transporting hydrogen.
Well, I mean, we also discussed this quite frequently in this webinar that, let's say, yes, we have the chance to transport hydrogen via pipelines, but let's say this is a long way from Tunisia to Germany with a pipeline, and there is already Italy in between. And if Italy would like to defossilize, I mean, it's at least not unlikely that they also will use some of the hydrogen from there. And if you think it on a little bit in a longer way, I think it's, at least from my point of view as a, let's say, small professor, I think it's necessary that we transport the hydrogen by ship, because then we are much more flexible related to different sources and different customers. Yeah, and from that point of view, I think one big challenge, at least with my classes and my point of view, is to develop the possibility that we can transport hydrogen as we transport today, for example, crude oil, yeah, or maybe natural gas as liquid hydrogen, as LNG. So I think this is one of the big challenges, because let's say good conditions to produce hydrogen is, sorry for that, Professor Bowden, is not only true for Tunisia, it is also true for other countries in the MENA region. And to have similar opportunities and to create a market of different producer and different customers, I think this will most likely not possible from my point of view, only based on, let's say, a pipeline system. I think we also need a ship transportation system. Or you don't agree with this, Dr. Kaufmann?
No, that's what we are looking for in this feasibility study with Australia. That's the question: how can we transport green hydrogen by shipping it from Australia? Then you can do it from Canada, from somewhere else. Then if it is working with Australia and it's the price is okay, then you can do it from everywhere. So this is this feasibility study. We will have first results in May to see what is the best way to ship it. It's ammonia, it's methanol, it's a liquid hydrogen, or maybe LOHC, this German technology. That's what we are looking for in this feasibility study, and also in this Trans-HDI flagship project, which is 100 million euro. And let me say that we are also happy if we can decarbonize Italy. We have not only the German classes. So that's what if I'm talking about climate goal, we are talking about climate goals of all the world and also other European countries. And so for sure, also Italy will need green hydrogen, hopefully, to decarbonize. So it's not only the German perspective. We are happy also to have a partnership with Tunisia for Germany, but I think we have to look on a global climate change, and we have to look also for European solutions. So that's I want to point out.
Sorry that this was not my intention to say something against Italy. I like Italy, there's no doubt about that. I just would like to say that, let's say, from my point of view, it is not sufficient that we just think in, let's say, pipeline connection. We also have to think in chip connection, because this gives us, at the end of the day, much more flexibility and much more freedom and much more possibilities. But maybe I don't want to come slowly to the end. Maybe if you allow me a last question, which goes a little bit more in politics. We understood that, let's say, on one hand side, Tunisia does a lot of research in this field and looks very much to Europe and, of course, to France for historical reasons, but also to other countries and also to Horizon 2020. And I mean, Germany is also part of the European Union. So if we talk about joint research activities and joint activities related to facing climate change, is it then enough if we go bilateral, or should we go more, let's say, in a European context? Does this help from your point of view? And maybe as a second point to this, do we need a stronger political let's say, framing of these joint activities? Or do you think that what is in place already is sufficient to, let's say, allow a strong development of this research and demonstration activities? I'm fully in line with what you said, Dr. Kaufmann, yeah, of these demonstration activities. So maybe if you both can make a final statement about this, then I think I will pass over to His Excellencies.
Yes, Mr. Bowden, please, maybe you first.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, in my opinion, we need both. I mean, we need the bilateral programs and we need the multilateral programs. European programs are mainly multilateral, and European programs are huge research programs. I mean, if you gain a European program project through the H2020 or Horizon Europe or the Green Deal program, you have a budget of something like a few millions of euros. Of course, it's a large consortium. But before going for such huge programs and within a large consortium, I think we need to build confidence between researchers, and we need to bridge between the researchers and make people learn how to work together. And this is the role of bilateral programs. Bilateral programs are smaller programs in which we start together to develop something, an algorithm, an experiment, a small prototype. We tutor or co-tutor 2 PhDs, 3 PhD students. We have some master students involved. And so we know we learn how to know each other and to cooperate together. And as far as the confidence is built and people know how to collaborate together, then they can go further for larger programs and multilateral programs. And this is why I think that the bilateral programs are very, very important, because they can build the bridges between people. And then as far as the teams are strong and they know each other, then they can go further for a multilateral program. So in my opinion, European programs are very important, but also the bilateral programs are very important. And you know, for research, the friendship and the relations, the human relations between people are very important to build something.
So the climate change is a global challenge. We need, therefore, we need multilateral programs, and we have to open the European programs to much more states outside of Europe. So we need a bilateral programs, as Mr. Bowden said, but we need also a multilateral approach. So I'm very fine with that, and hope for closer cooperations with Tunisia in the future.
Hope so. Yeah.
Okay, then let's say on the background that we already is approaching 8 o'clock. I think I would like to finish this discussion for the time being. I would like to thank both of you for this very interesting presentation, and thanks a lot for the discussion. And now I think I would like to slowly come to the end of this webinar. And it's my great pleasure now to pass over to His Excellency Hanin Tachouri Besassi. Hopefully this is at least a little bit right. Yeah. So please apologize for, let's say, not pronouncing your name in the right way. So the floor is yours, and we are very much interested in your, let's say, presentation, in your address.
Thank you so much. Good evening, dear organizers, Honorable Professor Shihab Boudin, Honorable Dr. Stefan Kaufmann, member of the Bundestag, dear friend and colleague, Ambassador Peter Prugel, esteemed audience. Allow me at the beginning to express my warmest thanks to the organizers, and especially to Mr. Shukri Aslouj for associating me for the second time to this webinar series intending to improve the awareness on green hydrogen as crucial energy vector for the future. So I'm delighted and honored to be again with you today to give some closing remarks at the end of this series of great added value for a niche that offers promising win-win partnership opportunities between Tunisia and Germany. And as I already highlighted during my participation at your second webinar on December the 9th, the Tunisian government is aware of the importance of this sector, which constitutes the appropriate tool to help achieving the objectives of the national energy transition and to meet the ambition to fulfill Tunisia's commitments within the Paris Agreement. Esteemed audience, since the virtual gathering of last December, a lot has been done to set up a fruitful Tunisia-German cooperation in this field, but I'll be brief and focus my closing remarks on 3 points. The first point, to emphasize again the importance of the topic. Indeed, the green hydrogen is a key pillar for reaching energy and climate goals. The hydrogen will play a major role in the energy mix. We noticed worldwide a large momentum behind hydrogen with more and more policies, projects and plans by governments and companies. In this context, I will refer to the German National Hydrogen Strategy presented last June with 9 billion euros, including 7 billion for the development of hydrogen technologies in Germany and 2 billion for developing hydrogen production in third countries. In Tunisia, we are not yet at the level of a national strategy on hydrogen, but we are working towards it with firm determination. Actually, Tunisia has established a strategy to reduce its dependence to fossil energy and to develop renewable energies. This is how the Tunisian solar plan set up in 2015, thanks to German support, is aiming to increase the portion of the renewable energy in the energy mix to 30% by 2030. The plan is also aiming to increase the energetic efficiency through reducing the fossil energy to 30% by 2030. Besides, Germany counts among the first partners to support energy transition in Tunisia, especially by the promotion of innovative green technologies, including hydrogen. An MOU has been signed between the Tunisian Ministry of Industry and Energy and the BMZ in order to build a Tunisian-German alliance on green hydrogen. This agreement with 31 million euros was signed on the sidelines of the Tunisian-German dialogue in green hydrogen, organized on December 15th, with the framework of the Tunisian-German Energy Partnership. This agreement aims to set up Tunisia-German cooperation for the production and the use of green hydrogen as an ecological energy with a significant economic potential and positive climate impacts. I guess my friend Ambassador Peter could share with us what has been achieved so far in the implementation of this MOU. The second point is how to pool endeavors to meet the challenges toward clean hydrogen and enabling regulatory. The challenges consist on a robust quality infrastructure for the development and mainly for the monitoring of facilities for production, transport, storage, and use of the hydrogen. The third point and the last, what are the next steps after this webinar series? I think it will be wise to submit the outputs and the recommendations arising from this webinar series to the relevant authorities in both countries for their consideration. In addition, I allow myself to insist on the need to create synergies between all the initiatives related to hydrogen, between official sides, universities, clusters, research foundations, and private sector. The importance of these synergies lies in the capacity to help Tunisia catching up the little delay in this field comparing to some countries of the region. And before concluding, and as the experts estimated, Tunisia has a great potential for the production of renewable energy and hydrogen. And I would like to underline that this new technology could be developed in Tunisia thanks also to the skilled talent pool graduated from Tunisian University in science, technology, digitalization, and engineering. And Professor Boudin has already shared with us some data on this field. That being said, I would like to reiterate my sincere thanks to the organizers for their commitment and willingness to focus on this promising sector via these weekly webinar series throughout almost 5 months. And we are looking forward to continuing the cooperation with you in a near future on other topics of common interest. And thank you so much for your attention.
Yeah, thank you very, very much for this very nice, let's say, closing remark. I'm very honored that we had a chance and the possibility to listen to you. So thank you very, very much again for that. And now it's my pleasure or my great pleasure to pass over to His Excellency Ambassador Peter Bruegel, who is basically your colleague. In your home country, and so we are very happy to have you here, and we are very interested in your final closing remark. So the floor is yours. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much, Professor Kaltschmidt, for your kind introduction, and thank you also to today's speakers, Professor Boudin and Dr. Kaufmann, as well as Your Excellency, my dear colleague Hanan Tashouri-Bessassi from Berlin. I think, Hanan, we should pass with our bilateral consultations also to the web. It's much nicer to see you when we are speaking to each other. So thank you very much to all of you for sharing your interesting insights on this important matter. I'm very happy to be with you for this closing webinar today, and I would like to thank the organizers, in particular our moderator, for the fruitful discussions throughout this Tunisian-German green hydrogen webinar series over the last few months. I'm well aware that I'm now the last speaker standing between you and especially for our Muslim friends and colleagues, the iftar. I see the sun going down already, has already gone down, at least here in Tunisia and Berlin. You might have to wait a bit longer, so I will try to shorten a bit my prepared presentation, especially for the part of the German hydrogen strategy, as Dr. Kaufmann has extensively presented this already. So the Tunisian-German friendship, as you all know, and our bilateral cooperation date back several decades already, and it has significantly enhanced since the Tunisian revolution. As a reform partner, Tunisia is a privileged partner within the most important category of our global development cooperation. Our Ministry of Cooperation, of Economic Cooperation and Development Champion League, so to say. These are the few strategic our reform partners. And this is why, beyond our core areas of cooperation, which are economic development, governance and decentralization, water, and of course renewable energy, we discuss and entertain with Tunisian partners a wide range of development instruments, including policy-based loans, as part of a comprehensive reform dialogue. And this is why, on the background of our privileged partnership and given the very favorable conditions for the production of renewable energies and the proximity for the transport of their derivatives to Europe, it was only natural for us to join forces with our Tunisian partners to help determine the role that Tunisia might be willing and able to play in the future global hydrogen market. So in addition, from a development point of view, and with the objective of a mutually beneficial, so to say, win-win cooperation, we see it therefore as a priority to help in particular our strategic partners to also benefit from clean hydrogen production as participants in an international green hydrogen market. By creating green jobs and value chains through fulfilling the increased need for renewable energy and water inputs used for the production of green hydrogen here in Tunisia, for example. And based on our commitment to the Paris Agreement, it is important for us that our cooperation contributes to the local energy transition and sustainable energy supply, ensuring that our activities here in Tunisia contribute also to the country's own objectives and commitments, such as the Tunisian Solar Plan, which aims at increasing the current percentage of renewable energy in the Tunisian power mix from currently 4% to 30% by 2030. Ladies and gentlemen, last December, Germany and Tunisia, and Shuri mentioned, is already signed a memorandum of understanding to establish a green hydrogen alliance and dialogue series under the umbrella of the German-Tunisian Energy Partnership in order to bring political, economic, and scientific stakeholders, as well as civil society and practitioners together to discuss these questions. Beyond this, we support the development of a green hydrogen strategy in Tunisia via the GIZ and provide capacity building for its implementation roadmap, while at the same time creating a practical case of usage, so a pilot project, and learning by building this project plan for the production of green hydrogen via our development cooperation bank, the KfW, with an engagement of 25 million euros. As both the GIZ and the KfW have already presented their activities in this webinar series, I do not want to repeat the details here, but rather underline what we consider to be the most important challenge for the creation of a global hydrogen market: the need to create viable business cases with the private sector by creating adequate regulatory framework for stimulating demand, while at the same time providing attractive financial schemes for private investment. First, study results regarding the potential of green hydrogen production in Tunisia, led by the Wuppertal Institute and financed by the BMZ, have already been conducted and presented in this series, as well on other occasions by the GIZ. The study gives first indications about the viability of the future power-to-X sector in Tunisia and demonstrates possible applications for the Tunisian market as well as for exportation, and I think there is no doubt about that, the global demand for these products is expected to rise. However, further questions remain regarding regulation and private sector involvement, as well as infrastructure and transport. These questions will be analyzed within the upcoming projects and discussed with our national and international partners, as well as different ministries, all ministries involved: economic development, higher education, transport, environment mainly, all those involved in our cooperation within the framework of the Tunisian-German Green Hydrogen Alliance and its high-level dialogue series. The signature of this alliance in December last year marked a new milestone within our bilateral cooperation and underlined our common interest and commitment for climate action and sustainable development, while preparing for a green recovery that highlights green job creation and sustainable development. Ladies and gentlemen, in order to build this decarbonized future, scientists and practitioners, politicians and economic investors will need to work closely together to answer remaining questions and provide the capacity and the market environment needed. The Tunisian-German Green Hydrogen webinar series throughout the past month, with more or around 20 events, contributed exactly to that. So let me close by thanking the Hamburg University of Technology, the Tunisian National Agency for Energy, ANME, the Hamburg Open Online University, as well as the Tunisian and the German Engineers Associations for their joint initiative and invitation to this webinar series, and its successful implementation since the end of last year. A lot remains to be done, but I think this was an excellent start as it laid the foundations for manifold and certainly fruitful future cooperation. So thank you for your attention. All the best of luck, and back to you, Professor Goldschmidt.
Yeah, thank you very, very much for this very nice, let's say, closing remarks. And with this, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to, I say the last time now, I would like to terminate our webinar series, even to the fact that I'm not a terminator, obviously. But I would like to finish now our webinar series and would like to thank first all the speaker and the guests in this tonight, Professor Bowden, Dr. Kaufmann, His Excellency Hanin Tachuri Besassi. Sorry, it's still not perfect. I'm working on this, I promise the next time.
Hanin, it means affection.
Okay. And of course, His Excellency Peter Brügel. I would also like to thank all the presenters in the other webinars who have given here excellent presentations about the resource of green electricity, about the production of, let's say, hydrogen, about the use of hydrogen in aeroplanes, in ships, in trains, and all the areas around this field. And of course, I would like to thank all the participants for being here more than once, most likely, at least this is what we get. And of course, at the final end, I would like to thank for the very good cooperation to the colleagues from Tunisia, especially from Chokri Asloy, and for this very well and very interesting cooperation that we both realized this webinar. And last but not least, as the final closing remark and final thanks, I would like to thank Fabian Karels for organizing all the challenges with the electronics and with the technology, especially when we moved from Zoom up to streaming to YouTube, which has been, at least for me as an engineer, quite, let's say, a book with 7 Siegeln, as we say in Germany. So it has quite a challenge. Nevertheless, we get it managed. And with that, thank you very much to everybody. I wish everybody a beautiful evening. Enjoy the summer break. And we will, let's say, think that we come back maybe in the next winter session with another topic and with another joint webinar. With this, thanks a lot again. Have a beautiful evening and a beautiful summer, and stay safe and healthy and don't be affected by the current pandemic. With this, thanks a lot. Bye-bye. Good evening.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks to Tunisia.